What's up guys, welcome back to another video. In this one we're going to be doing an aluminum side-by-side project. Let's get started. Alright guys, so I've had this on my mind for quite some time. Haven't really had the time to get it going. This is a personal project, so I kind of have to put those on the back burner until I have some time. Well, where it's Christmas break, I figure I'll try to get this one knocked out. So let's show you guys what I'm thinking here. Alright, so on my side-by-side here, I've got a cooler that I typically take with me when I go hunting or when I'm riding around. I also want to be able to put a toolbox and maybe a gas can in the back of this. The problem that I run into when I'm using this for hunting is if I throw a dead animal in the back of this, you start getting blood rolling around in the bottom and it can get on your backpack and all over your stuff. So there's that, but also it would be nice to be able to utilize the full square footage of the bed and still be able to carry the stuff that I need. One of the reasons I want a toolbox is I want to be able to put stuff in it so that if I get a flat tire I can fix it, put some tools in it, first aid kit, stuff like that. So here's what I'm thinking. I want to fabricate some sort of aluminum rack or pan or carrier, whatever you want to call it, that sits on the bed rails here, spans across the whole bed, and I'm going to build it out of aluminum diamond plate. I'm going to break it so that it's got some sort of a U-channel profile. I'll show you guys what I'm thinking there. But it will hold the cooler, toolbox in the middle, gas can. Not quite sure how I want to situate those, but that's what I want to do. I'll show you guys what kind of profile I'm thinking on the aluminum. Let's go back over to the table and I'll show you. All right, so this project started out just like every project I do, where I'm pulling measurements, I'm looking at what kind of material to use, I'm brainstorming how I want to build it, all the different options, what things I like, what I don't like. And so where I started was I took a piece of scrap and I had an idea of what type of profile I wanted to bend this rack. And so I ran a test pattern. So here's attempt number one. You can see it didn't work out. I wanted this to be like a U shape, and you can see that was too tight for the brake. So I had to back it off just a little bit. I extended my top piece. I extended that to 3/4 of an inch. I got exactly what I was looking for. Now the reason that I like this profile is a couple of reasons. When you break something, if you put a brake in any sort of U-shaped structure that you're trying to build, it makes it stronger. So I like that. I wanted to roll this piece over because the stuff on the inside is going to be rubbing up against it. And these edges, once you burn them, it doesn't matter how well you clean them up, they're always a little bit abrasive, and so I wanted that to roll over so that that wasn't what was rubbing on the objects inside of the rack the whole time. I'll probably bolt a lot of the stuff down or strap it down, which brings me to the next thing that I like about this design. The other thing I wanted to do was I'm going to burn some holes on the outside of this in various locations across the back and the front, so that if I want to strap something down and use ratchet straps, I can just hook them in that hole, and then because of this offset, it should be out of the way of the hook when it comes through the inside. So I think I figured out the design. When I checked my material, I don't have enough 1/8 inch plate, which is what this is. What I do have is some 3/16 diamond plate, and I did run a test bend and it worked out just great. So that's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to use up this material that I had left over from a job, and it's going to be a little bit heavier, but it'll also be stronger. And I do like that it's going to be a little bit stronger up here where I'm going to be strapping things down to it. There will be a lot less flex when I go to tighten down ratchet straps. So that's the plan. This is what our profile is going to look like. 6 inches tall on the outside. We've got a 1/2 inch here 3/4 on the top of the U-shaped here. It'll come across 16.5 inches, and then it will match this profile on the other side. So it's basically just a big U-shaped pan. And then on the ends, I'll go ahead and burn some cap pieces. We'll weld those on. And then I'm trying to decide whether I want to go with a piece of angle that sits on the bed rails that welds to the pan, or I'll burn some more diamond plate, break it on a 90, and weld that. I don't know yet. So I'm gonna go ahead and start drafting these parts up on the CNC burn table. Once I get those burned, we'll come back to you and we'll explain to you our process for breaking it. Let's get over to the burn table, see if we can burn these parts. All right guys, we got our plate loaded up on the table. Got our part all drafted. Pretty simple part. We'll go ahead and burn this now. Show you guys what I'm thinking after. We'll go over the press brake, but it should be fairly fast. This is a pretty easy one, especially where the angles are 90 degrees. Don't have to do anything too fancy. So, should be good. Let's go over to the machine and we'll get these broken. Okay, so the next order of business is going to be to start fitting these up. But where these corners clash, we're going to have to take and 45 this. So I'm going to 45 here and here, and then I'll show you guys how they fit together. I am going to have an open corner joint right here, which is what I prefer when I weld stuff like this. Any kind of diamond plate, aluminum, fuel tanks, boxes, anything like that. I always like to have an open corner. It fills in nice. It's a good solid weld. So the next order of business will be to 45 these. Once I get these 45, we'll come back and show you guys how it fits. All right guys, we're back on the side-by-side storage box here. So we're gonna see if we can't get these side pieces fitted up. I've checked them for fit. They're good. I think the audio cut out there in the middle of that. So what I've done is I just 45 those on either side, and I went ahead and beveled the top joint. We should have an open corner joint on our outside edges. So I'm going to grab the Dynasty and we'll start fitting this up. All right guys, so I want to show you something here. Pretty handy dandy cool. Super cool tool. I've got my Fireball clamp here. I believe they call it a bar clamp. So I've got a piece of 1 inch by 2 inch rec tube. You get these pieces here. You can see they have a slot in them. So you can put it on like a regular, like an L clamp, or you can flip it. And the cool thing about these is you can use them to push outward if you need to, which we need to. So I'm I'm gonna go ahead and get this adjusted here. Goodness, it's close. So we're just gonna go ahead and try to push that outward a little bit till it's where we want it. Now I'm gonna start getting some tacks on this. I'm using 4043 332 aluminum TIG rod today. I am using a number 8 cup today with 332 tungsten. I like to ball my tungsten just a little bit on the end. I had somebody comment the other day, could you please start letting us know what the settings are on your machine? So I'll tell you guys that right now. Right now I'm on 120 Hertz on the frequency and my balance is at 60% and it's running good. So the only other thing I want to do, I'll probably get some more tacks on the bottom here to keep that from moving. But I do want to check this with my cooler because that's the largest item that's going to go in here and I want to make sure that it fits in there the way I want it to. So I'm going to go grab the cooler and then we'll test fit it. Honestly, that couldn't fit a whole lot better. I've got maybe 1/8 of an inch of movement there. Same with this side. I just wanted to make sure that it fit down inside. I'm thinking I'll probably put the toolbox on the end and then I'll put the fuel can here in the middle. I would kind of like to build the toolbox into this, but I'm trying to figure out how I want to do that. Because I want to build it so that the moisture won't go into the toolbox. So I'm thinking maybe if I build a lid that had a lip that went around this. I'm going to brainstorm on that for a bit. But we did check our cooler. It fits just the way we want it to. We got a little bit of room to play with. That's perfect. I think we'll go ahead and start welding this out. Alright guys, so I made a little switch. I switched over to 1/8 inch tungsten. For heavier material like this, I like to run 1/8 inch tungsten. It keeps your tungsten from deforming because of the heat. So I switched over to 1/8 inch tungsten. I'm still running it with a little ball on the end of it. If you haven't seen a TIG finger, this is what they look like. It's just a piece of heat resistant material. I don't think it's fiberglass, but you can stick it on a couple fingers and brace yourself and slide it along the material as you weld, and it keeps from burning the piss out of your fingers. Sometimes I'll actually put it on a couple fingers just to block the heat from cooking my fingers. That one ran really good, so I'm happy with that. I'll go ahead and probably flip it so I can weld the other end, let this end cool for a minute, and just kind of bounce around. When I get these done, I'll go ahead and give you guys a look. Alright guys, so I've got one side completely done here, so I'll go ahead and give you a look. It's not the best, but it's not the worst. It's gonna hold up though. So I'm pretty happy with that so far. Welder's running good. I've got the long section on the other side left to do. Once I get that one done, then it's time to start figuring out the brackets. So I'll pull the side-by-side in here. Once it's cooled down, we'll set it on the side-by-side and we'll start figuring out how exactly we want to put the brackets and where. So we'll go to that point. All right guys, so I wanted to show you something pretty slick here. I got the side-by-side pulled in and we had to come up with a type of system that we were going to be able to use to mount our box onto the bed rails here. So there's some slots here, and then there's some deeper slots right here and right here. And there are actually these brackets you can get that drop in here, but I didn't like where these ones were located. And so I started Googling what kind of bracket I could put in these. There's a couple different options. The option that I found that I liked is made by this nice CNC. So you can look them up on Facebook. I'll actually show you that QR code, so if you're interested, you can scan that. But I'll show you what this is. I've actually already installed the other side. So these kits, you can order different quantities. The kit I got came with 2 of these. It comes with all the hardware you need. Hi, bud.
Hi, Dad. Hi, Dad. I am Woody.
Hi, bud. Cool. Okay, quiet for just a minute, okay? So here's what the part looks like. It's CNC machined out of aluminum. There's these little tabs here. So you drop it down in there, and then as you tighten this up, those little tabs, those little ears, will tighten up, and they grip the bottom. You tighten up those 2 Allen screws right there, and then there's a threaded hole in the middle here. They actually come with an eye bolt that you can use, and that eye bolt will screw into the middle. So if you want to use this for ratchet straps or whatever, you can use it for that. What we're going to use it for, so we'll have some bed rail plates that are welded to the sides of our box, and then there's a hole here and here, so we'll anchor those down with bolts on both sides. That's the system we're going to use. I like that these are clean. I like the way they mount. It's really strong, the way that the system works, where it grabs the back of this. So I'll get this one put in and then I'll give you guys a look. So I just push these in and it's like a perfect fit. And then I'll drop the screws in. This is the hardest part about the whole install, is trying to fish these things underneath here. Then I just take my Allen key here, snug those up. So there's what you're left with right there. It's nice and clean. It's flush on the top. Then it gives you a nice threaded hole there where you can screw a bolt in, or like I said, you can use the eye bolt. I'll get this last bracket in and then we'll be ready to get our box over here, set it in the bed. I'm gonna have to put some blocks underneath it to get it to the elevation that I want. I've got to cut a couple pieces of aluminum angle. That's what I'm gonna use for my little side bed rail brackets. So I'll get those pieces cut, we'll get the box in here and it's set up. Once we get everything situated to where we're ready to tack this, we'll come back and show you guys what we got. All right guys, so as I was brainstorming over the last few hours, I think I've come up with a pretty good plan here that's gonna make this work exactly the way I want it to. I brought the fuel can, the cooler up here, set them in the box. Cooler fits perfect there. I like the gas can here. I was trying to decide if I wanted to be able to fit 2 gas cans, but honestly, that thing does so well on fuel. I don't think I'll ever need more than 1 gas can. 1 gas can is going to be good for what I need. The next thing I was trying to figure out is, originally I was going to just buy like a drop-in cargo box off Amazon and screw it down inside here that has a lockable lid on it. Then I can store things inside of that, like a compressor, flat tire repair kit, stuff like that. Some tools, So I wanted to be able to put that in here. Well, then the more I got to thinking about it, the more I thought, why don't I just build the box into this? And so that's what I think I'm gonna do. I'm gonna build a partition here. It cuts across right here. That'll still leave a little bit of room where I could put some odds and ends in here. But the box is gonna be about 18 inches wide here, and then whatever, 16 and a half here. So I'm going to build a lid for it. The lid is going to have a lip that rolls over the edge so it'll keep the moisture out. I think the only thing I probably would have changed is, had I thought this through a little bit more in the beginning stage of the project, I probably wouldn't have burnt these two holes, front and back, because now you're going to get, you know, possibly dust and dirt, mud, rain, snow. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some of those rubber plugs and just plug off the ones that I'm not using. That way, if the box is closed and I want to set something on top of this and strap it down, I can still use these holes. So I'm not upset about that. It'll still be kind of handy to be able to have the holes to strap something down. From a weather perspective, it probably would be better not to have them, but hindsight's 20/20. So I'm going to build a partition here. It's going to have the same profile. It'll have this little L bend in it, and that'll be a built-in cargo box. The other thing I did is I ordered a lockable latch off Amazon, and I'm going to put that latch in the top right here on the lid. And I've decided, instead of opening it this way, I want to open it this way. I think that'll be a lot more user-friendly. The locking latch will be here tomorrow. I'm going to see if I can't get the partition built and the lid built. I may not be able to burn the lid because I want to get that latch. You have to burn a square out of the lid so that you can drop the latch in, and then I'll actually rivet the latch in. I'll show you guys. And then I'm thinking about getting some of those air shocks so that when I open it, it will open on its own and stay open. If you're going to be a bear, be a grizzly. And we'll start working on getting our plans for our partition, see if I can't get that burned and broke and lay it in here. So I'll start working on drafting that. When I start making headway, I'll give you guys an update. All right, guys, we devised a plan for our design on our piece that divides the box. So here's what our part looks like. You can see these little ears will actually go up inside of the brake that runs this way, just to try to kind of help keep mud and stuff from going in there, dirt, dust, water. I think I may end up caulking that just to keep as much of that dust and water out of there as possible. But we're ready to lay it out. I've got to get the dies swapped around on the press brake, so I'll go ahead and do that. I'll get this laid out, and then when it's time to break it, I'll bring you guys back for that. All right, guys, I had to get the dies resituated here. We've got a 13.5-inch knife on the top. We didn't need to switch the dies on the bottom. I've got my part laid out here. It's going to be 3/4 on the first leg and then 7/8 on the second. I've inputted everything into the machine here, so we should be ready to go. So, fire in the hole. Pretty happy with that. Now we'll go over and I'll show you guys how that's going to fit. There we go. Oh, ho, ho. Yeah, I like it. I like it. Okay, so I'm going to put the center of this leg between these two holes. So I'll be able to get that welded in now. So it'll be its own little lockable compartment there. Start working on getting that welded in. I've got to wait to fabricate the lid until I get the latch, but I think the other thing I can do is get this box set in the back of the side-by-side and start working on the side brackets. We'll start working on welding this in, and then maybe we'll go to that next task. All right, we're just trying to get everything squared up and fit here. I got one tack on it so far. There's not a whole lot for you guys to see here. I apologize. So I'm just going to try to get this welded out. Once I get it welded out, I'll bring you back and give you a look. All right, guys, we got this all welded out. Did have a little faux pas right there. Went ahead and dipped my tungsten. Woo! But other than that, I think it went okay. Everything should be all sealed up. Obviously, I can't get up in this corner. I'll probably have to caulk that maybe. The next thing we can work on, I'm gonna let this cool before I move it over into the side-by-side. Right now it's hotter than a pistol, so I'll let it cool. I'll find some blocks and get it blocked up in the bed of the Can-Am. And then once I'm to that point, I will go ahead, get it set up in there, and then I'll start getting it situated where I want it so we can tack it. Once it's all tacked, we'll bring it back over to the table and we'll weld the side brackets on. So that's the next order of business. Because there will be a lot less flex when I go and strike. We'll come back to you and we'll explain to you what our process of... Once I get those burned, we'll come back to you and we'll talk about our process of elimination. Goodness. Okay, the only other thing I want to do now that this is tacked up, fit up, the only other... Alright guys, so I've got one side completely done here, so I'll go ahead and... I want to build, I want to fabricate